Have you looked at your hands? I mean, truly looked at them. Stretch out your fingers now. Do they tremble? Do you feel that constant low-grade tremor, that unsteadiness in your nerves that you have learned to ignore? You call it stress. You blame your coffee. You have been taught to look for any reason but the real one. Have you dared to face your own reflection lately? Not the quick glance while you brush your teeth, but a hard, honest stare. Have you noticed the paleness of your skin, the lack of vital color? Have you seen the dark, bruised-looking tissue that has begun to gather around your eyes? A sign of deep exhaustion? Have you heard your own voice? Have you noticed how it has lost its power, its resonance? How it has become hoarse and unclear, lacking the energy to command attention, to speak with authority? These are not random signs of aging. They are symptoms. They are receipts for a debt you are paying with your own life force. You believe you are living a life of freedom. This is the great lie of the modern age, a lie so pervasive you have mistaken your own prison for a palace. You think the endless chase for sensation, the thoughtless release, the celebration of raw impulse is your right as a modern man. But the truth is brutal. The perverted use of your sexual energy is the direct and calculated source of your decay. This is not a question of morality. It is a question of physics. It is an esoteric fact that the waste of this precious substance burns the very mechanisms of your mind. This is not a sermon. This is a diagnosis. This is an autopsy of the modern man, a man taught to celebrate his own destruction. We are going to examine the specific ways you have been conditioned to destroy yourself, act by act, perversion by perversion. We will look at the precise physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual ruin that follows each act. The evidence is not hidden. It is screaming from every cell of your body, from every chaotic emotion, from every diffused thought in your mind. You have been told that masturbation is a harmless, even healthy release. This is a lie designed to keep you weak, isolated, and drained. It is a foundational act of self-abuse, and its consequences are devastating. In a true sexual union, there is a vital exchange of energies. The man's aura and the woman's aura mix, and their etheric, emotional, and mental counterparts slowly adjust, replenishing the reservoir of creative energy. A circuit is completed. In masturbation, there is no exchange. There is only loss. There is no circuit. You are drawing upon your own sacred life reserves and casting them into the void. This act puts a tremendous, unnatural pressure on the gray matter of your brain. With every solitary act, your concentration weakens. Your sense of daring, your will to take risks and achieve, evaporates. In the most extreme cases, this relentless self-depletion can lead to a complete breakdown of the mind, to insanity. You are, in no uncertain terms, feeding on your own essence. You are an energetic cannibal, consuming your future to satisfy a momentary, artificial urge. You are starving your higher mind to feed a lower craving. But what happens when you add another, even more potent poison to this act? What happens when you invite the corrupting, demonic influence of pornography into your mind while you perform this draining ritual? When a man masturbates while watching porn, another, even more complicated situation takes place. The pressure on the brain is magnified. You are not just wasting energy. You are generating low-quality, lustful thought forms that obsess and possess you long after the act is over. These are not your fantasies. They are living effigies, replicas of the stage images that captivated your eyes. These thought forms are endowed with a consciousness of their own. They become true mental demons. This is why you cannot stop. This is one of the reasons people who watch porn have such a hard time giving it up. It becomes the same problem as cigarettes and alcohol. You are haunted and driven by the very demons you created. Your pornographic imagination also makes your mind dull. It leads to the squandering of these low-quality thought forms outside of your own aura. You believe this is a private act, but you are polluting the world around you. This not only harms you, but it also obsesses other people who have similar weak tendencies. These thought forms are powerful. The world, especially the big cities, is filled with these low-quality pornographic thought forms that encourage sexual crimes, perversions, and other psychic maladies. You think you are innocent. You think your actions are only related to your body. That is not true, not if we take the state of the astral and mental planes into consideration. Your lustful thoughts do not stay with you. They affect others who have the same lustful tendencies. And worse, your thought forms attract negative entities that feast on your aura. They are parasites that latch onto you, encouraging ever more perversions, feeding on the negative energy you generate. And do not fool yourself into thinking you are a passive observer. Millions of women all over the world are victims of sex trafficking, pornography, and prostitution. This trend is growing at an alarming rate. By watching porn, you are indirectly sponsoring these activities. You will pay a karmic penalty for this in the future. Samael Aun-Weor described this process with chilling precision. Spectators contemplate actors performing pornographic scenes. Then, in the mental plane, the psychological I of every person intervenes by creating mental living effigies of the succubi or incubi that become absolute replicas of the stage images, which captivated the retina and the ear of the spectator. These effigies are endowed with consciousness and become true mental demons, which, during the hours of normal sleep, fornicate repeatedly with the spectator's mind. Obviously, this causes nocturnal pollutions or wet dreams. Then there is the perversion of oral sex. Society tells you this is a sign of intimacy, of liberation. The esoteric teaching states, without apology, that it is a sign of retrogression, a movement towards bestiality. It is a dangerous and profoundly harmful abuse of your energetic system. The human throat center is the higher counterpart of the sex center. It is the blooming of the sublimated sex force. It is the seat of your creative power, your voice in the world, your ability to bring ideas into manifestation. The sex center vibrates at a much lower, coarser frequency. Forcing these two centers to merge creates terrible interference. You are polluting your center of higher creation with the raw, unrefined vibrations of the lower. This creates a profound imbalance in your entire system. It is an act of spiritual sabotage. For the man, it is a process of losing vital energy without any replenishment. There is no etheric exchange. One doctor cited the case of a man who became very nervous, lost weight, and eventually lost control of his mind because of this practice. You are choosing a path that leads to serious disease. For both partners, it is a direct exchange of poisons. The mouth is a source of infection. You absorb germs and disorders directly into your system. You are polluting each other under the guise of pleasure. And what of the man who engages in intercourse but withholds his release? You may have been told this is a technique for saving energy. It is not. You are digging your own grave. This is a very harmful action that shows a deep misunderstanding of nature. When you are sexually stimulated, your body creates seminal fluid to be used in the orgasm. If you do not release this fluid, it accumulates. It puts an immense unnatural pressure on the testes and other glands. This is not strength, it is congestion. This accumulated pressure throws the whole body out of balance. I have spoken with several men who had their testes removed because of a tumor or cancer, and all of them said they had practiced withholding ejaculation for a long time. You cannot fool nature. If you do not intend to release the energy, you should not become sexually stimulated in the first place. To do so is to play a dangerous game with your own health, a game you will eventually lose. And what of having multiple partners? This is not a sign of virility or masculine power. It is an act of karmic suicide. Every sexual act is a deep fusion, not just physical, but emotional and mental. When you fuse with someone, you share their karma. With every new partner, you load yourself with the karma and pollution of another person. These ties bind you until the debt is paid. They can prevent you from entering higher levels of consciousness, chaining you to a routine life when you are ready for something far greater. These are the mechanics of your self-destruction. This is not about shame, it is about cause and effect. Now let us examine the effects in brutal detail. Let us look at the wreckage this abuse leaves in your body, your emotions, your mind, and your spirit. Let us begin with the physical body, the temple you have been taught to defile. The abuse of your sexual energy weakens your body's immune system, its defense mechanism against disease. You become susceptible to every passing germ. You find yourself getting sick more often. It attacks your central nervous system, making you shaky. Perform the test yourself. Stretch out your fingers. If they tremble, that is a sign. Stand on one foot. If you wobble and cannot hold your balance, that is a sign of a weakened nervous system. This abuse makes you lazy and sleepy. The constant, nagging exhaustion you feel is your body's automatic response to save the little energy you have left. Enthusiasm and interest are operated solely on the fuel of sexual energy. Without it, you are an empty shell, indifferent and inert. It drains the color from your body, leaving your skin pale. It weakens your eyesight and your heart. The cells of your body must work overtime to replace the energy you constantly waste, a process that can lead to the formation of cancer. You are living 20 to 30 years less than you could be. A well-known ballet dancer once told me that he had sex with his wife only once a month. "It's because I can't dance if I have it more often," he said. The energy and the elasticity for his art came from the accumulation of sexual energy. A great singer loses the quality of her voice if she is not moderate. Your own voice becomes hoarse and loses its power. You are trading your physical vitality, your strength, your health, and your years of life for a fleeting, destructive pleasure. Now consider the emotional chaos, the storm that rages inside the man who wastes his life force. He becomes nervous and irritable. Why? Because a nervous system fried by energy loss cannot handle normal stimulus. Every sound, every request, every interaction feels like an attack. He develops an urge to gossip, to be nosy about the lives of others. Why? Because his own life lacks vitality. His depleted aura desperately tries to draw energy from the drama and intensity of other people's lives. It is a pathetic form of psychic vampirism. He becomes destructive and indifferent to his duties and responsibilities. Why? Because the creative fire that fuels construction and care has been extinguished. All that remains is the cold ash of apathy, the impulse to tear down what he no longer has the energy to build. A strange, chilling pessimism takes hold of his worldview. He feels a deep sense of isolation, yet he pushes people away. He develops a secret hatred for the beauty he sees in other people, because their light, their vitality, their happiness is a painful mirror to the darkness and decay within him. Jealousy and a profound selfishness become his default states of being. He becomes sneaky. The natural magnetism of his aura, the very thing that draws positive experiences and people to him, is lost. He becomes a ghost in his own life, an emotional wreck tossed about by his own unregulated impulses. The mental ruin is perhaps the most severe and the most tragic. The man who abuses his sexual energy experiences a total loss of moral principles. The concepts of right and wrong become blurry, always twisted to justify the next sensation. There is no drive for achievement. There is no striving to know, to serve, or to lead. His higher goals, the very things that give life meaning, vanish into a fog of apathy and indifference. His mind becomes diffused, scattered, and unable to hold a single productive thought for long. He loses all contact with his inner guide. In its place, a tendency to lie, to be vain, and to constantly show off emerges. This is the ego building a fragile, pathetic facade to hide the terrifying emptiness within. In the most severe cases, various complicated mental problems and even insanity can come to the surface. The teacher said that excessive sex disturbs the rhythm of your mental atoms and you hallucinate instead of think. The mind mixes past and present, creating total mental chaos. But the destruction does not end there. It strikes at the very core of your being. It is a spiritual suicide, and this is the price that is never spoken of in your modern world. When you abuse your sexual energy, you are prevented from contacting higher spiritual energies. You are locked out. Celibacy is important before major initiations and expansions of consciousness for a reason. You cannot enter the Holy of Holies while pouring your life force into the gutter. Within your spiritual anatomy are knowledge petals, reservoirs of innate knowledge and wisdom. When you waste your sexual force, you are burning these petals. As they are destroyed, wisdom disappears from your life. You fall into confusion, unable to know truth from falsehood. This is why you are so easily deceived. This is why you fall for lies. Your inner organ of truth has been damaged. Without this wisdom, you become spiritually blind, stumbling through life without guidance. Worse, when these petals are burned, you lose control over your own mind. You begin to hear voices from the etheric and astral planes, not the voice of your higher self, but the chaotic chatter of the lower planes. Your mind becomes a radio receiver stuck between stations, filled with static and malicious whispers. The person can become obsessed. Your sovereignty is gone. You are no longer the master of your own mental house. Other things move in. You have created a vacuum, and the lowest elements of the unseen world rush to fill it. Your aura, the luminous shield that surrounds you, becomes polluted. This is your mechanism for receiving impressions from the world. A pure aura is magnetic to high beings, to devas, to masters. A polluted aura is invisible to them, but it is a shining target for the lowest entities. Your telepathic and intuitive communication stops. Your connection to the subtle forces of nature is hindered. You become a deaf, dumb, and blind man walking through a rich and vibrant spiritual world you can no longer perceive. And your karma drastically increases for you. Every act of self-abuse is a karmic debt you accrue against your own soul. You think you are only hurting yourself, but you are creating a weight that will crush your future, ensuring failure, depression, and destructive activities. And do not think this self-destruction ends with you. A man with a mind bereft of health, sanity, and balance introduces anti-survival directions into every field he touches. The poison spreads. When men are drained and corrupted, politics becomes corrupted. Education is reduced to manipulation. Communication becomes a science of creating cleavages. Art loses its soul and falls into prostitution. Religion turns into fanaticism. Economics creates deficits and endless depression. The world you see around you, in all its chaos and decay, is a direct reflection of the inner state of the men who run it. It is a world built on wasted sexual energy. It is a monument to spiritual bankruptcy. The final question is what you will do about it. The path of ruin is clear, and you have walked it. But there is another path, a path of restoration, of rebuilding, of reclaiming the sacred fire you have so freely given away. This is the path of the true man. You must become ruthlessly discriminative in your sexual life. Find one partner and build a true unity, a real fusion on all levels. The goal is to contact the highest within each other, to use this sacred act to precipitate higher ideas and visions. You must begin the practice of conservation. This is a choice you make every day. Engage in intense activity. The man in the monastery was given no moment's rest. This forces the energy upwards, from the center of procreation to the centers of creation and thought. When you do this, you will notice how your own creativity, understanding, and higher inspiration begin developing successfully. You stop being a reactor and become a creator. Your life changes from a series of chaotic events to a deliberate act of will. This is a lonely path at first. You will be misunderstood. The world around you, which thrives on weakness and impulse, will not understand your choice. They may call you strange or repressed. Let them. Your life, your vitality, and your achievements will be the only proof you need. I ask you now, looking into your eyes, how long will you continue to be destroyed by your own ignorance? How long will you trade your birthright as a creator for the fleeting poison of a moment? The choice is yours. The path is clear. Reclaim your fire. Reclaim your soul.